At Thanksgiving, my dad called me a useless burden. So I nodded quietly and stopped depositing money into the account that pays for everything they own. Let's make this moment special. Subscribe if you believe in stories like this and tell us your city in the comments below. The fork slipped from my hand, clattering against my grandmother's good china. Everyone froze. My father's words hung in the air like smoke from the turkey nobody was eating anymore. You're a useless burden, Tasha. Always have been. I was 28 years old. I'd been depositing $6,200 monthly into their joint account for 3 years. That's over $200,000. Money that paid their mortgage, car notes, utilities, and my younger brother Kendrick's college tuition. I'm the burden. My mother, Madeline, wouldn't look at me. She pushed sweet potato casserole around her plate, creating orange trails that looked like tears. My Aunt Lorraine shifted uncomfortably, while Uncle Raymond suddenly found his phone fascinating. Kendrick, home from Howard University, stared at his lap. Nothing to say? Dad continued, his voice thick with bourbon and contempt. That's new. Usually you're running your mouth about something. My grandmother, Mama Jean, touched my hand under the table. Her fingers were cold, arthritic. He squeezed twice. Our signal. He knew. She'd always known what I'd been doing, quietly fixing everyone's problems while they pretended I didn't exist unless they needed something. I stood up slowly, carefully folding my napkin. You're absolutely right, Dad. I am useless. So useless, in fact, that I should probably stop trying to help. He laughed. Actually laughed. Help? Girl, what help you ever been? I smiled then. Not a happy smile. The kind of smile you wear when you finally understand a joke everyone else has been laughing at for years. Guess you'll find out. I grabbed my purse and walked out of that house for what I thought would be the last time. I had no idea how right I was. The next morning I sat in my downtown apartment, the one they didn't know existed, with my laptop open to the bank website. My hands shook as I hovered over the recurring transfer settings. $6,200. Every month. For 37 months straight. I'd started making serious money as a senior data analyst at Meridian Tech when I was 25. The recruiter had called it an aggressive compensation package. Base salary of $98,000 plus bonuses. I'd been promoted twice since then. I was now pulling in $143,000 annually, not counting my side consulting work. When Dad lost his job at the automotive plant, the third time in 6 years, I'd stepped in. Just temporary, Mom had said. Just until he finds something. That was 3 years ago. He'd stopped looking after 2 months. The house on Oak Ridge Avenue. My money. Mortgage payment. $2,300 monthly. Kendrick's tuition at Howard. $18,000 per semester. My money. Mom's Lexus she loved to drive to church to show off. My money. The $500 monthly payment came straight from my account. I pulled up my personal budget spreadsheet. The numbers didn't lie. After taxes and my own living expenses, I was barely saving $300 monthly. I'd depleted my emergency fund twice. My retirement account was embarrassingly small for someone my age. But family comes first, right? That's what Mama Jean always taught us. I thought about Dad's face. The disgust. The casual cruelty. Useless burden. He'd said it like he meant it. Like he'd been thinking it for years and finally found the bourbon courage to say it out loud. My phone buzzed. Mom, your father didn't mean it. Come by for leftovers. I deleted the text. Then I clicked 3 buttons. Transfer canceled. Effective immediately. My phone rang. I didn't answer. The call started exactly 8 days later. Not before. 8 days. That's how long it took for them to notice. I'd expected 3, maybe 4 days max. But 8? that told me everything I needed to know about how invisible my contributions had been. Mom's first voicemail was casual. "Hey baby, just checking in. Haven't heard from you. Call me back when you get a chance." No mention of Thanksgiving. No apology. Just that fake cheerful tone she used when she wanted something but was pretending she didn't. Voicemail 2-3 days later. "Tasha, I need to talk to you about something. It's important. Call me." Voicemail 5. "The bank says there's a problem with the account. Did you change something? Call me immediately." I listened to each one twice, letting them play through my speaker while I cooked dinner, worked out, lived my suddenly lighter life. It was fascinating, really, watching the panic escalate while they still couldn't bring themselves to acknowledge what I'd actually been doing for them. Kendrick texted, "Yo, what's going on? Mom's freaking out. Dad's been in a mood." I replied, "I'm fine. How's school?" He sent back, "Don't change the subject. They saying something about money. They'll figure it out." Tasha, seriously. I didn't respond. Kendrick was 21. He knew where his tuition came from. He'd known for 2 years since I'd accidentally sent him a payment confirmation instead of Mom. He'd never said thank you. Never offered to help. Just kept posting on Instagram about grinding and building his empire, while I literally paid for his education. Mama Jean called on day 12. I answered. "Baby," she said softly, "talk to me." "I'm good, Mama. How are you?" "I'm worried about you." "Don't be. I'm better than I've been in years." She was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Your daddy's pride is a terrible thing." "Yes, it is." "You doing what you need to do?" "Yes, ma'am." "Then I trust you." "But baby, this is going to get ugly." She had no idea how right she was. They showed up at my apartment on a Saturday. I knew they'd eventually figure out where I lived. Mom had always been good at playing detective when it suited her, but I'd hoped for more time. I was in yoga pants and an old Howard t-shirt, halfway through meal prep for the week when the buzzer rang. "Tasha, it's your mother. We need to talk now." I almost didn't let them up. My finger hovered over the button. But Mama Jean's words echoed, "This is going to get ugly. Might as well face it on my terms." They looked smaller in my space. Dad's eyes darted around, taking in the exposed brick, the floor-to-ceiling windows, the furniture that was actually nice. Not expensive, but deliberately chosen. My home. The one I'd built while funding theirs. "So this is where you've been hiding," Dad said. No greeting. No "how are you?" Just accusation. "I'm not hiding. You just never asked where I lived." Mom perched on my couch edge like she might catch something. "We need to discuss what you've done." "What I've done?" I kept my voice level, continued chopping vegetables. "Please elaborate." "Don't play games, Tasha," Dad snapped. "You stopped putting money in the account. The mortgage payment bounced. Your mother's car got repossessed yesterday. Kendrick called crying because the university is threatening to drop him from classes." The knife stilled in my hand. They'd waited this long? Let it get this bad before coming to me? And this is my problem because you're family. Mom's voice cracked. Family helps each other. I set down the knife carefully. Turned to face them. Interesting definition of family. Does it include fathers who call their daughters useless burdens? Mothers who sit silent while it happens? Brothers who take and never even say thank you? "Your father was drunk," Mom whispered. "He didn't mean it. He meant it. And you know what? I'm tired of pretending he didn't." Dad's face turned purple. I'd seen that color before, usually before he broke something. A plate. A door. Once my favorite bookshelf. "Tired? You're tired? We raised you, clothed you, fed you, put a roof over your ungrateful head for 18 years. And I've more than paid you back. $229,800 over 37 months. I have the receipts. Every single transfer. Want to see them? The number landed like a physical blow. Mom actually gasped. Dad's mouth opened and closed. You're lying, he finally said. You don't make that kind of money. I make more than that. Significantly more. That's what happens when you actually show up to work and don't get fired every other year. It was a low blow. I didn't care anymore. Mom found her voice. If you had that much money, why didn't you just give us more? Help us properly instead of this. This allowance. The audacity. The sheer, breathtaking audacity. Help you properly. I paid your entire mortgage. Your cars. Your utilities. Your son's education. What exactly would properly look like? You could have helped your father start a business, she said. Given us a real hand up instead of just throwing money at bills. I laughed. Couldn't help it. Dad couldn't keep a job someone else gave him, and you think I should fund a business? With what? The retirement savings I don't have because I was too busy funding your lives. See? Dad pointed at me triumphant. This is exactly what I'm talking about. No respect. No gratitude. Just attitude. Gratitude? You want gratitude? For what? For telling me I'm worthless? For treating me like an ATM with an attitude problem. Kendrick appeared in the doorway then. I hadn't heard him come in behind them. His face was tight, angry. Man, this is messed up. Tasha's been paying for everything and y'all really standing here trying to make her feel guilty? Stay out of this, Dad warned. No. I'm tired of staying out of it. I'm tired of pretending I don't know she's the reason I'm still in school. Finally. Validation I didn't know I needed. Kendrick stepped fully into the apartment and I noticed how much he'd changed. Taller somehow, broader in the shoulders. When had my little brother become a man? I told y'all to apologize to her after Thanksgiving. I told you. But y'all too proud talking about she'll get over it. Kendrick, Mom started. Nah, I'm talking now. He looked at Dad. You've been telling everybody at the barbershop how you, managing the household finances and keeping everything together. I heard you. But it's her money. It's always been her money. Dad's face shifted from purple to ashen. That's private family business. Private? You made it public. You walking around with your chest out like you doing something when you ain't done nothing but sit in that house and criticize everybody else. I'd never heard Kendrick talk to our father like this. Nobody had. And Mom, he turned to Madeline, you know what's happening. You knew at Thanksgiving. You knew when he said that foul stuff to her, and you just sat there because it's easier to let him be mad at her than at you. Mom's eyes filled with tears. That's not fair. What's not fair is Tasha giving up everything for us and we can't even respect her enough to say thank you. What's not fair is she's younger than you were when you had me, and she don't even have savings because she was too busy making sure we were good. How do you know about her savings? I asked quietly. Kendrick looked at me guilty. I heard you on the phone with Mama Jean last year. You were crying. You said you couldn't afford to visit your friend Simone in California because you'd put your last emergency fund money into Dad's dental work. I'd forgotten about that. The $1,200 for his crown. He'd never said thank you for that either. The silence stretched. Outside, I heard sirens, life continuing while we stood in this frozen moment. So what now? Dad finally asked. You just going to let us lose everything? No, I said softly. I'm going to let you handle your own responsibilities. Like adults. They didn't leave after that. Instead, they settled deeper into my furniture and I realized this was going to be a long night. Mom had stopped crying, replaced with something harder. That's when I knew we'd entered a new phase. The negotiation. Fine, she said, folding her hands. You want recognition? You want appreciation? Consider it given. Now let's talk about how we fix this situation. There's nothing to fix, Mom. You and Dad are adults with a spending problem, not victims of circumstance. The mortgage payment is $3,000, she countered. You said you were paying $2,300. The shift was so subtle I almost missed it. He was checking my math, looking for discrepancies. The mortgage is $2,300. I have the statements. The additional $800 you're thinking of? That's the home equity line you took out to renovate the kitchen. Dad leaned forward. How do you know about that? Because I'm on the bank account, remember? You added me for emergencies. I get notifications for every transaction. The $15,000 from Home Depot? The $8,000 from that contractor who did half the work and disappeared? I watched it all. I pulled out my phone, opened the banking app, turned it toward them. 3 years of transactions, every purchase, every withdrawal. June 15th, Dad, you spent $400 at the casino. July 3rd, $500. August 11th, $350. Should I continue? His jaw clenched. A man's entitled to recreation. On his own dime, sure. But you were gambling with my money while calling me useless. We could sue you, Mom said suddenly. Everyone turned to stare at her. For the money you gave us. Gifts can't be taken back. Kendrick laughed bitterly. Mom, are you serious right now? I'm serious about keeping my home. If your sister wants to play hardball, we'll get legal advice. Something cold settled in my chest. Do it, please. I have records of every conversation where you called it a temporary loan. Every text message where Dad said he'd pay me back once he got on his feet. My attorney would love this case. That was a bluff. I didn't have an attorney. But they didn't know that. They left around midnight, threats and tears, exhausted. I sat in the silence of my apartment, still processing, when my phone rang. Mama Jean. They just left my house, she said. Came here straight from yours, talking about hiring a lawyer, about how you're abandoning the family. I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm just not funding their dysfunction anymore. I know, baby. I told them the same thing. Your daddy cussed me out. Can you imagine? Cussing out his own mother. I could imagine it. I'd seen him do it before, years ago, before Grandpa died and Mama Jean became the matriarch nobody dared cross. I'm sorry you got dragged into this. Don't be. I need to tell you something and I need you to listen. Her voice changed, grew serious. Your grandfather left me money. A good amount. I never told your father because he'd have tried to take it, use it for one of his schemes. That money's been sitting in an account waiting. Mama. Hush, I'm talking. I'm 81 years old. I don't need much. And what I do need, my pension covers. I want you to have that money. Not for them. For you. To rebuild what you spent. Tears burned my eyes. I can't take your money. It's not taking if I'm giving it. Besides, I already transferred it. Check your email. I had my banker send the details. I pulled up my email with shaking hands. There it was. An electronic transfer notification. $83,000. I almost dropped the phone. Mama Jean, this is too much. It's exactly enough. You put over $200,000 into them. This is me putting something back into you. Don't argue with an old woman. We talked for another hour. He told me things I'd never known. How my father had always been entitled even as a child. How she'd enabled it and regretted it. How she'd watched me sacrifice myself and stayed silent too long because she was afraid of the family fracturing. But it's already fractured, isn't it? She said. Has been for a while. You just finally stopped pretending. After we hung up, I sat with her words, with the impossible gift she'd given me. For the first time in 3 years, I felt something unfamiliar. Hope. Monday morning, I got to work early. My boss, Jennifer Saunders, stuck her head into my office around 9. Got a minute? We need to discuss something. My stomach dropped. Had my family drama followed me here? But Jennifer was smiling. I'll cut to the chase. We're opening a new division focused on financial analytics for mid-sized businesses. I want you to head it. 20% salary increase, your own team equity options. The number she quoted made my eyes water. With that salary, I could rebuild my savings in a year. 2 at most. Yes. Absolutely yes. Great. There's one catch. Positions based in Seattle. They need someone there in 6 weeks. Seattle. 3,000 miles from Detroit. From my family. From the drama and guilt and endless demands. That's not a catch, I said. That's a feature. Jennifer laughed. Thought you might say that. Welcome to leadership, Tasha. I called Mama Jean during lunch, told her everything. She was quiet for a long moment. That's God making a way, she finally said. You take that job, baby. Don't look back. But that evening, everything changed again. Kendrick showed up at my apartment, and from his face I knew something was wrong. We need to talk about Mom. What now? She's sick. Like really sick. She hasn't been feeling well for months, but she finally went to the doctor. It's her heart. She needs surgery, and the insurance lapsed because Dad didn't pay the premium. Of course it did. Of course. When? 2 months ago. He used the premium money for. Kendrick couldn't finish. For what, Kendrick? For a trip to Atlantic City with his boys. Mom found the hotel receipt. The room spun. I sat down hard on my couch. How bad is it? Bad. They're saying without surgery maybe 6 months. With surgery she's got good odds, but it's expensive. Like 200,000 expensive. They wanted to ask you. No. The word came out harder than I meant. No, Kendrick. I can't. His face crumpled, and I saw the little boy he used to be before life got complicated. Tasha, she's our mom. I know who she is. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't eat. Just sat in the darkness of my living room, Mama Jean's money in my account. Mom's heart failing, Seattle waiting, and the weight of an impossible choice crushing my chest. At 3 a.m. my phone lit up. A text from an unknown number. This is your Aunt Vanessa. I heard about your mama. I also heard what you've been doing for them and what your daddy said to you. I'm in Atlanta now, got my nursing degree, doing good. I want you to know, you don't owe them nothing. But I also know you, and I know you'll blame yourself if you don't help. So I'm sending you $5,000. It ain't much, but it's what I got. Use it however you need. Tasha. Get out of Detroit. You hear me? Get out and don't look back. Vanessa. Dad's younger sister, the one who'd left at 18 and never came back. The one they called selfish. The one who'd apparently figured out what I was just learning. I called Kendrick at dawn. Tell me everything. Not what they want me to know. Everything. He sighed. Mom's known about her heart for 8 months. She didn't say anything because she didn't want to worry anybody. Dad's been gambling heavier since he retired from looking for work. He's into some guys for 12 grand. That's why he's been so angry. That's probably why he said what he said at Thanksgiving. He was stressed about the debt and took it out on you. And Kendrick, what about you? You said the university was threatening to drop you. Silence. Then, I got a full-ride scholarship last semester. Merit-based. I was gonna tell everybody, but then I figured, if they thought I still needed tuition money, maybe they'd stress less about the other bills. I was wrong. I should have told you. My little brother. Trying to protect me by lying. Where's the tuition money been going? I think Dad's been using it. For his debts, probably. 16 months of tuition. Roughly $40,000. Gone. Into gambling debts. while he called me useless. I made my decision then. Not out of guilt or obligation, but out of something else entirely. Here's what's going to happen, I told Kendrick. I'm paying for Mom's surgery, but not them. Just the surgery directly to the hospital. After that, I'm moving to Seattle. I scheduled the family meeting for Saturday afternoon at Mama Jean's house. Neutral ground. I'd spent the week working with the hospital's billing department, arranging payment plans, getting second opinions. Mom's surgery could happen in 3 weeks if we moved fast. They all came. Mom looked smaller, fragile in a way that made my chest ache despite everything. Dad was defensive before anyone even spoke. Kendrick positioned himself next to me, a silent show of solidarity. Aunt Vanessa had flown in from Atlanta, taking vacation time she probably couldn't afford. Mama Jean sat in her chair like a judge ready to deliver a verdict. I'm paying for the surgery, I started. No preamble. $217,000, paid directly to the hospital and surgical team. Not a penny goes through your hands. Mom's eyes filled with tears. Thank you, baby. Thank you. I'm not finished. There are conditions. Dad stood up. Conditions? Your mother is dying and you're making demands. Sit down, Luke, Mama Jean said quietly. He sat. I pulled out the document I'd had a real attorney draft, costing me $2,000 I didn't regret spending. Condition 1. Dad gets a job within 60 days of Mom's surgery. Any job. I don't care if it's at McDonald's or Walmart or driving for Uber. He works or the payment plan I've arranged gets canceled. You can't. I can. It's in the contract with the hospital. They have provisions for financial circumstances changing. Condition 2, you sell the house. It's too big, too expensive. You can't afford it without my subsidies and I'm done subsidizing. Mom made a sound like I'd struck her. Condition 3, you get financial counseling. Both of you. Weekly sessions for 6 months, then monthly for a year. I've already paid for it. If you miss more than 2 sessions, the surgery payments stop. This is blackmail, Dad said. No, this is boundaries. Condition 4. Dad pays back the tuition money he stole from Kendrick. $50 a week. I don't care how long it takes. Kendrick gets every penny. I didn't steal. You did, Kendrick said. And we both know it. Final condition, I continued. I'm moving to Seattle in 6 weeks. You don't contact me unless it's an emergency. You don't guilt me, manipulate me, or show up unannounced. We can rebuild a relationship slowly on my terms or not at all. Your choice. The silence was deafening. Mom's surgery was scheduled for a Thursday. I took the day off, sat in the waiting room with Mama Jean and Kendrick. Dad was there too, quiet in a way I'd never seen. He'd actually gotten a job, night shift at a warehouse. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. The surgeon came out after 7 hours. She did great. Recovery will be long, but her prognosis is excellent. I felt something unlock in my chest. Relief. And something else. The beginning of letting go. Dad approached me in the cafeteria later. I got something to say. I waited. I'm sorry. For Thanksgiving. For all of it. You were right about me. I've been hiding from reality, letting you carry weight that wasn't yours to carry. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want you to know I hear you now. It wasn't enough. But it was a start. Thank you for saying that. Your mama told me some things. About how much you actually gave us. I didn't know it was that much. I didn't want to know. He rubbed his face. I'm ashamed. That's the truth. I'm ashamed of what I became, and I took it out on you because you were doing everything I couldn't do. I'm not your therapist, Dad. And I'm not your bank. If you want a relationship with me, it has to be real. It has to be honest. I know. I'm trying. The counseling helps. He paused. You really leaving for Seattle? Yes. Good. You should go. Build something that's yours. Coming from him, it felt like absolution. Mom woke up that evening, groggy but alive. She held my hand and whispered, I'm sorry I didn't protect you. From him. From myself. I was scared of being alone, so I sacrificed you to keep the peace. That was wrong. Yeah, I said softly. It was. Will you forgive me? Eventually. But not today. Today you just focus on healing. She nodded, understanding in her eyes. Real understanding finally. As I left the hospital that night, Kendrick walked with me to my car. You know, you basically saved everyone today, right? Even though they didn't deserve it. I didn't do it for them. I did it because I needed to know I could walk away with a clear conscience. There's a difference. You're stronger than all of us, he said. No. I just got tired of being weak. The day I left Detroit, it was snowing. Mama Jean came to the airport, insisted on it despite her arthritis. You call me every Sunday, she commanded. And you remember, you didn't abandon nobody. You saved yourself. There's no shame in that. I love you, Mama. I love you more, baby girl. Now go be great. Seattle was gray and wet and absolutely perfect. My new apartment had a view of the water. My team was brilliant and motivated. For the first time in years, I wasn't exhausted. I wasn't resentful. I was just living. Kendrick called every week. Mom's recovery was progressing. Dad hadn't missed a day of work. They'd listed the house and were downsizing to a manageable condo. The counseling was helping. They were learning to live within their means, learning to communicate without manipulation. We talked occasionally, my parents and I, carefully, building something new from the ruins of what we'd been. It wasn't perfect. Some wounds were too deep to fully heal. But it was honest, and that was enough. On my 1-year anniversary in Seattle, I got a package. Inside was a framed photo of our family from when I was 7, before everything got complicated. On the back, in Dad's handwriting, you taught us what strength looks like. Thank you for not giving up on yourself. Love, Dad. I cried. Not from sadness but from release. That evening, I opened my laptop and checked my savings account. $94,000. Retirement account. $42,000. Emergency fund. Fully loaded. I was whole again. Better than whole. My phone buzzed. My friend Simone from California. I'm in town for a conference. Dinner tonight. Absolutely, I texted back. As I got ready, I caught my reflection in the mirror. I looked different. Lighter. There was peace in my eyes that hadn't been there before. I'd learned the hardest lesson. You can love people and still walk away. You can honor family without destroying yourself. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is simply, no more. I grabbed my coat and headed out into the Seattle night, into my life, into the future I'd finally claimed for myself. I was no longer a burden. I was free.